From university professors to traditional media outlet, we are hearing them call the protests going on campuses all over the country right now as reminiscing of the 1968 protests against the Vietnam War. But the question I have for you, are they really, or is it just yet another attempt for traditional news outlet out there to condone violence?
This is the Nico Lagan Show. Warning. Warning. This show contains explicit content. Listener discretion is advised. Real, raw, and shooting you straight. This is the Nico Lagan Show. And now your host, Nico.
This episode of the Nico Lagan Show is brought to you by the Alpha Creator Blueprint. Are you a male content creator trying to level up your social media game? Do you want to get millions of views every month, just like I do? If so, check out tacblueprint.com to find out more. Before I get started, I want to introduce myself. My name is Nico Lagan, and I am a voice for common sense. I believe in accountability. I believe in manly men, feminine women. I believe in small governments. I believe in free speech. I believe in the Second Amendment. And I believe in God. This is what I stand for. And for everybody listening to this live, ask me some questions. I want to hear from you. Give me your opinion. Tell me if you believe that I'm right. Tell me if you believe that I'm wrong. I want to hear from you. This is exactly why I do it live. I want to hear from you guys. So never be shy to say something, because I want to know what you guys think, and I want to have a conversation with you guys. I want you guys to help me create better content. So please never be shy to interrupt me, to ask me a question. Now, the First Amendment protects your rights as an American to assemble and to express your views through protests. This is the basis for the American Constitution. And every single country out there that believes to be free must allow their citizens to have freedom of speech. It makes sense, right? And combined with the rights to defend ourselves, these are the most important rights we have as citizens. That being said, the real question I want you guys to be asking yourselves right now isn't if you agree or disagree with the protests going on campuses all over the US right now, or if you're pro-Palestine or pro-Israel. The question I want you guys to be asking yourself is, what are those protests about? Are they really about what they say they're about? Or is it something completely different that is driving those protests? Because ask yourself, and this is a question I've been asking myself since it's been going on, because those started, in April last month. They've been going on for 3 weeks now. They just keep on escalating and escalating, but they still been going on for almost 3 weeks, maybe a bit over 3 weeks now. And the question I keep on asking myself, and yet I cannot find an answer to, is, do they really believe what they're protesting? Are the students believers? Do they believe that Israel is wrong? Do they believe that Palestine is right, that they need to do something for Palestine? Or is it maybe that they're just easy to manipulate? That the people that are protesting, or youth are protesting because that's what they're being told to do, or that's what they've been told to do their whole life. And that's the question I want you to keep in mind as I continue on here. But do you believe that the students believe in what they're fighting for? Or are they just being told what they should believe? Because at the end of the day, this is the question every single one of you should ask yourself about any opinions that you have. If you believe in something, you should ask yourself, do you really believe in that? Or is it just something that you've been told to believe in and you just don't question it? This is the most important question you'll ever ask yourself. Do you believe what you believe because you believe them? Or do you believe what you believe because you're told to believe in them? Someone on Clapper is asking, do we support Palestine? Well, that's a good question. You tell me. You tell me if you support Palestine. And I'm not here to debate if you should or you shouldn't. What I'm wondering is, why do you believe? And this is the question I want you to answer. When you say, do we support Palestine? You tell me if you do or not. No judgment. That's your freedom of speech right there. This is a beautiful thing. But you tell me if you believe it and if you support them, and why. Why do you support Palestine? Why do you think that the campuses, all the protests on campuses are going on? I want to know what you think. And on Instagram, that's what I question. Is this to take away from interest for voting? That's a good question. That's a really good question. Is this all going on as a distraction? It's a good question. What do you think? Twisted Secrets is the person that asked. What do you think? Is this something that's going on right now because this is the right thing to do and the students really believe in this? Or is it just because it is just yet another distraction? You tell me what you think. I'm curious. Now, yes, I support as it is a genocide, and this is to the question that I asked on Clapper. Yes, I support as it is a genocide. 30,000 have been killed for no reason. It is a blatant genocide. Okay. Again, I'm not here. This is not about to debate if they're right or wrong. But thank you for answering the question. Thank you for answering the question. All I'm going to answer to this is, this war between Israel and Palestine, if you look at history, or Israel and other Muslim countries, has been going on for thousands of years, almost 2,000 years now. I don't even know that they remember the reason they're fighting, frankly. And looking at what's going on, I can't stop myself from sitting in the middle and just see that both sides have done some wrong. But where do we go from here? And that's the question. Where are they supposed to go from here? What's the next step that they're facing? Again, this is not the point of this. The point I want to address is something that we can actually change something in, because unfortunately, let's admit here, as people that are in North America, there's nothing much that we can do about what's going on in the Middle East right now. We don't have a lot of power against it, but we have power over what's going on in our countries here. So if we look at those protests, as I was saying, are they really participating because they believe it? Because, as you mentioned, it's a genocide? Or is it just because they're young, they're easy to manipulate, and that they're participating in protests because of peer pressure, that our current school system has been brainwashing them to believe that all social causes are worth fighting for, and if you don't, you're a bigot? Is it that hard to believe that what's going on right now is a simple result of indoctrination? Because if you think about it, most young people right now have been told from a young age that men and women are the same, that what one can do, the other can do just as well. Do you think that it's that much of a stretch that the same education system that's been pushing, let's call it equality, that's been pushing them to believe in ideals that sound great on paper, but that are just not applicable in the real world? Take, for example, socialism and communism is a great example. Don't you think that what's going on right now is just a result of the education system, peer pressure, that the media outlets, social media, are telling them what they should believe in, and they simply don't question it. Because if I think how I was in my early 20s, I didn't question much. I wasn't in control of my emotions. I didn't realize that I had a lot more, like my actions had a lot more consequences than just myself. That what I did had consequences, or still have to this day, consequences on people around me. And I didn't really think about it. I didn't question it. I was pretty fucking selfish. Let's call a spade a spade. I was really fucking selfish. And I wonder, is that not exactly what's going on with those protests? And don't get me wrong, I don't claim to have all the answers here, and I'm not here to tell you what you should and shouldn't believe in. That's not the goal of these podcasts and these lives. All I want to do is for you to ask yourself questions. Is really to ask yourself the questions that the traditional media outlets will not ask. Do you believe that the protests that are going on right now are a result of the students believing that they need to free Palestine? Or is it that they're just being told to believe it, and they've been told to believe that they need to fight for those issues from a young age? Because I don't see any of those going in the street and trying to fight for our homeless situation. I don't see them in the street fighting for our vets. I don't see them trying to make the US a better place. What I'm seeing is them protesting about something that's going on in another country that, quite frankly, would not support their belief system. Do you honestly think that... Think about this for a second. I've seen so many posts and videos about the LGBTQ community being pro-Palestine. How's that possible? Most of the people in Palestine are Muslims. And Muslims, the Quran is very clear about the LGBT community. They don't agree with their values at all. Those two values don't agree with each other. So how can one support the other if their main values don't align? And this is why I question what's going on right now. And again, I'm not here to debate people to say, should they believe or should they not believe? It's just a matter of trying to understand, what do they believe? And do they actually believe it, or are they just being told to believe in it? Because, you know what? I'll push it even further. If you look at the protests, at the protesters right now, take a good look at all the videos, at the pictures that are being released from the protesters themselves. Have you noticed that they have quite a few things in common? Most of them are very young. A lot of them are wearing masks in public, like in an open space. To this day, they're still wearing masks. And there's another behavior that I find very interesting, is that, have you noticed that they act very tough until a police officer, until it gets violent and a police officer arrests them? They literally break down like a kid that's about to get punished. It looks to me like a baby tantrum. This is what it seems like when they're getting arrested by police officers. And I'll go even further than this. How much do you want to bet that the same people that are protesting in the Palestine protests right now are the exact same people that were part of the BLM protests, that were part of the Antifa protests? They're the ones that are always at the climate change protest. They're the same people that were that were pushing vaccine mandates a few years ago. Like, how many people, how many of those protesters believe that the patriarchy needs to be destroyed, that capitalism is the root of all evil, and that socialism and communism is the way to go. How many of those protesters actually believe in God? They believe in something greater than themselves. How many of those protesters are ready right now to leave the country, to go to Palestine, and to fight against Israel, to put action behind their words? And you and I both know the answer to this. None of them are ready to go to Palestine to fight for this. So do they really believe in what's going on right now? Because if you believe in something that you're not ready to act on, do you really believe in it? You know, here's a great example. 18 months ago, I left my corporate job, my high-paying corporate job as a sales engineer. You know why? Because as a sales engineer, as one of the faces of a major corporation, I wasn't able to speak my mind. I wasn't able to do what I'm doing right now. I wouldn't have been able to speak the way I'm speaking right now. So I believed in free speech so much. I believe in what I do so much that I was ready to leave a very well-paying job, a long career, just to start from the bottom again and start talking about this. Do you think that the protesters are ready to do this? Do you think that they're at a point, they believe so much in what they're protesting against or protesting for, however you want to see it, that they're ready to put it all on the line in order to make it better? I don't see it. I really don't see it. To me, all I'm seeing is a bunch of children, of children, and you know what? Adult children acting like babies that did not get what they wanted. This is what I see right now. The real thing, the real question at the end of the day that we should all ask ourselves, you guys included, is, are those protests happening just because those young people have nothing else better to do? That they don't have anything to live for. They don't have anything to get up in the morning. They have no motivation to get up in the morning. There's nothing important in their life enough to get up in the morning. Because we all need a reason to get up in the morning. We need something to believe in. We need something to live. Because what's the point of being alive if you have no reasons to live? Without purpose, our lives are meaningless. And that's why I think that our youth is just lost. Do you think that it is a coincidence that all the same people seem to appear everywhere? That the protests we're seeing now is always one protest after another, after another, after another. Like our youth needs to protest because they don't have anything else to do. And this, to me, is where the problem is. Because we live in one of the best countries ever. And yet, people are complaining about what's going on when we are part of the top 1% of the world. It's just amazing to me that our youth has not seen anything bad yet. They've been so pampered and so privileged by this society that they don't understand what's actually going on. They're just being taken advantage of because they're young and gullible. And this is not meant as an insult. This is just a reality. Studies upon studies upon studies will show this, that people between the age of 18 and 25 are extremely influenceable. And they're part of an education system that is basically telling them everything they need to believe without teaching them to question. And as I said earlier, this is the whole point of this, is for you to ask yourself questions to know what's really going on and what do I believe in? Am I fighting for something I really believe in, or am I just fighting because I got nothing else to do? Twisted secrets. They don't know they're being paid. They aren't talking. They have a list of demands. You know, this is another thing. It's a good point what you're saying, because I've seen this time and time again when they start interviewing our youth, especially our students, and not just in those protests, but about pretty much any subject, they tend to repeat what they're being told without being able to explain why they believe it. And this is the problem to me. This is the biggest issue, is our youth are fighting for things they don't understand. And they cover their faces. They don't want to be recognized as people from, you know what? Twisted secrets, you're right. A lot of them are covering their faces like they're ashamed. Are they ashamed, or are they preparing to do something illegal? They don't want to get caught. Because if you really believe in something, you must have the balls to show your face and to say it out loud what you believe in, or else, again, I don't think this is just another little thing, a little indicator that maybe they don't really believe in what they're doing. Last comment, twisted secret. When they are arrested, if they're actually processed and not just released, then we would know. Yeah, you know what? That's another good point. This is another great point, and that was something that was happening in BLM protests as well, is all the people that are getting arrested seem to get released. And they don't really have consequences to their actions. Getting arrested for protesting is not a big deal, because you're being released. You're not looking at real consequences. You're taken off, and then they release you. They kind of try to scare you, but does that really work? I don't think so. Now, blatant genocide. They're killing innocent people. See, that's another problem. It's not because you're not pro-Palestine that you're pro-Israel. This is another problem that we're seeing right now. Do you realize, Mohammed from Clapper, and I'm sorry, bro, I don't want to destroy your last name, though, but do you realize that as per the bell curve that explains what people believe in, 65 to 70% sit somewhere in the middle. They're neither left nor right-leaning. They're somewhere in the middle. And they're looking at both sides, and they're trying to make up their mind or try to understand what's going on. This is where most of the people are. The fact that I'm not in the street protesting for Palestine doesn't mean that I'm okay with what Israel is doing. This is a fallacy that we need to stop telling people. Most people are somewhere in the middle, and just like me, they see problems with both sides. It's really that simple. Because I'm not for pro-Palestine doesn't make me pro-Israel. I ask questions and I look at what the best answers are. And let's not lie to each other here. Neither of us can claim to have all the answers to say Israel's right or wrong or Palestine's right or wrong. Because the only information, unless you're right in Palestine and Israel right now physically, the only information you're being shared is through social media and traditional news outlets. Very easy for them to control that information. We all know that. Let's not lie to each other here. So we are forming opinions with only a portion of the real information. And there's no way for us, unless we're over there, to confirm nor deny what's actually going on. And this is why I'm saying that you need to sit somewhere in the middle and question both sides. And this is not just on this, but on every subject out there. There's always three sides to any story. Right? So nothing's different about those protests right now. Hold on. Nothing is saying that, Mohammed again, nothing is saying that you should hate gays. I'm a Christian and I don't hate gays. I don't hate anybody. Hate is such a strong word. I don't hate anybody. But to say that their way of life aligns with what the Bible teaches you, or to say that their belief aligns with what the Quran says, we both know that it would be a lie. So Yeah, defy me all you like. You can challenge this all you want, but at the end of the day, the Quran does not align with LGBTQ values, and that's the end of it. So having a group of individuals in the U.S. protesting for them, for Muslim in Palestine, is just hilarious to me. Because their values don't align. They've hung people still to this day. How does that align? It's just funny. That just tells me that those people, and I shouldn't say it's funny because it's not funny. It's actually pretty sad that we have people that just seem to need a cause to fight for without really understanding what they're fighting for. And that to me shows a bigger problem at hand. And this is where I'm trying to bring that, or I've been trying to bring that conversation to, is really, why do we believe what we believe? Is it really that we believe them? Or is it just that we're so used to being told what to believe that we just do believe it because our phones are telling us to believe it, because our friends are telling us to believe it, because the news is telling us to believe it? We automatically believe that it's true. And I did not think I would spend 30 minutes talking about this, but one of the great examples that I had about that, and maybe I can talk about this next week, is abortions. You know, I was born in Canada. I was raised in Canada. And it's not before I started traveling through the U.S. and I spent the last year and a half traveling through the U.S. and Mexico. And my girlfriend and I have been coast to coast. We've been through 23 different states. And until then, I never questioned abortions. Because where I'm from in Canada, it's something that's been accepted, that's been said to be a woman's right, health care since I've been a kid. This is something that's being pushed in our education system, that's being pushed by our government, that everybody believes seems to be the way to go. That if you don't believe in abortions, you are wrong. You do not believe that women have the same rights as men and they should be in control of their bodies. And this is something that's been pushed to me since I've been a child. And it's not until I was exposed to another way of thinking that I started challenging what abortion stands for. And this is my whole point about those protests. Challenge your views. It's not because you believe something that it's actually accurate. It's not because you believe something that you actually believe it. Question your core values. How are you ever supposed to grow as an individual if you never question your values? You never question your views. I'm not the same guy I was 6 months ago. A lot less than 2 years ago and 5 years ago. This is always something that you need to challenge. You're always supposed to challenge yourself and challenge your beliefs. Listen to people you don't agree with in order to see, do I really believe my beliefs, or maybe I don't, and there's other opinions out there that are actually valid and I need to listen and pay attention to them. So at the end of the day, I really, really doubt that the protesters know what they're protesting for. They don't understand what they're protesting for. They just need a reason to protest. And this is just the latest one. When this goes, it's going to be something else that they're going to be protesting for. So this is what I believe in. I appreciate every single one of you for joining, for sharing your opinion with me. And you know what? Agree or not agree with me, I really, really enjoy people challenging me. I welcome every single one of you to comment, to share, to follow if you like this show, and never be scared to challenge me on my beliefs, on any of my posts. I always welcome this. I love people. Even if you call me names, I often participated in conversations where I'm being called names, and you know what? I'm very good at de-escalating the conversation. And if you're looking to have a real conversation, please never be scared to engage with me, because I welcome this. Now, this is it for me today. This is, again, thank you for joining. I want to finish with something I've never done before, but I'm going to start doing it as starting of today is I want to leave you on a little prayer. So, God, thank you for everything that you do for us. We are grateful for your blessings. Please help us find the courage to stand up for what we know is right, and the voice to speak for what needs to be said. Amen. Because don't forget, divided, we fall. But united, we stand. Have a good weekend, guys.